Hello and welcome. I am Bob Duffy from Intel. I'm part of the Intel Developer Zone, and we are hosting a Hangout with our Ultimate Coders. Ultimate Coding Challenge is something that is started with Intel as of February 15th, and we've got some of our Ultimate Coders here joining with us, and we'll be talking about their experience with the challenge and what we should expect over the next coming weeks. So if you haven't heard of Ultimate Coder, you can follow the URL at the bottom of my name to check it out. But as just kind of a brief description of it, it's something like a 7-week hackathon where we take 7 accomplished developers and we give them a challenge. And at the end of it, we're looking forward to an application or an app prototype that they'd end up building using some level of Intel technology. And during the weeks, they will be blog posting about their progress week to week, and so we get to see the development process as it goes on. And in this challenge, they are taking on Perceptual Computing and convertible ultrabooks. So we'll hear a little bit about that with them. So I'd like to introduce the panel here. We have Chris Allen from Brass Monkey. So Chris, wave your hand so people see you there. We have Steph Kelsey from Infrared 5, who's working with Chris as a team. We have Giuseppe of Simian Squared. We have Lee Bumber of the Game Creators. And we have Wendy Boswell of Intel, who's working with me on this project. So what I'd like to do is take some time and ask these guys some questions about their experience so far, because we're into the second week of this project here, and Lee's done this before, so he knows a little bit about this, but for the rest of them, this is new territory for them. So what I'd like to ask each of them, and then Chris, we can start with you, is want to know what has really been your initial challenge? As doing this project, you've got some hardware, you've got the Perceptual Computing camera. What has been your big challenge just as we get into week 2?
I think the biggest challenge for us, well, there are a couple of them, but one of the biggest ones is the Unity SDK is a little bit, well, it's somewhat wrong in terms of the documentation. And there's a lot of, I mean, Steph's probably going to be able to speak to this more directly because he's been dealing with that aspect of the application. So, getting the face tracking to actually work the way we want it to and perform the way we want it to, using the Intel Perceptual Computing SDK by itself isn't proving to be doing the job. So we quickly switched to using OpenCV in conjunction with the library to be able to do some more sophisticated head tracking. On top of that, I think you pointed this out early on, that when you have a larger organization, you do have a little bit of a disadvantage over an individual who can just code whenever they want. So there's been a little bit of juggling with our other projects that we have going on and all the other work that we have to be able to keep things moving forward. So that's also been another big challenge.
Great. Lee, what about you? What have you seen? This is your second time into this. Any new challenges that you've seen here?
Challenges? Not really. Excitement. Lots of wonderful things I'm going to do, but nothing I would call a problem. I suppose the biggest problem I've got is it's pretty much what we've just already heard. It's time management. It's about running 4 or 5 different projects and running this as well and making sure that each project gets enough time. So I've only put I'd say about 14, 15 hours into the project at the moment, and I want to put in something like 60 hours. So I wouldn't say it was a problem. I think more frustration that I don't get more hours on it. But every hour that I've been sitting down in front of this technology, it's a real buzz. I wish I could just bin the rest of the projects and just work on this 24/7. So, but that's just a management thing. That's something I'm going to deal with. And now I've got the prototype out the way and got rid of all the grey areas because there's a couple of question marks on day one. I've solved them. So now it's just a case of just charging forward and getting as much of this app complete as possible. Because I know we've only got 7 weeks, but you don't want a prototype. You want something that looks like a finished app. So, you know, plenty of work still to do.
So, Giuseppe, you're new to this challenge as well, from Simian Squared. So, what have you guys found that has been, as we get into week 2, some of the challenges for you trying to get this project done?
Well, at the risk of saying the same thing as the other guys, I think it's mainly been time management. What we've tried to do is use the last 2 weeks or so to clear our schedule, so that we can put all of our time going forward into making the best of this challenge. Yeah, we haven't had any stumbles so far. We're doing quite well. We've set up with the perceptual computing hardware, and we've had a look at the SDK and started doing small prototypes, which we're gonna share with you next week in the blog post. But yeah, as the other guys said, we haven't had any major problems yet. It's quite nice working with the hardware. It's impressive stuff.
So let's shift gears a little bit, and stuff you can add onto this if you want to. But from your side of things, what have you seen that has surprised you or potentially even delighted you in the work so far?
Initially, when I looked at like the applications that were packaged with the SDK, I didn't think that the depth camera was really going to do much for us, but now that I've had a chance to look into it deeper, we talked about it in the last post we just did, but that depth camera, it's really cool. It really sees everything. It's a lot of data, so now the challenge is just kind of getting things mapped up correctly in Unity so I can actually take advantage of that data. But I think it's going to save us time at the front and the back of our pipeline. But it was really cool when I actually got like a good slice of depth data where I actually was like just focused in on the face. And then, I mean, you could really see everything. And, you know, in the samples, it's more just kind of like taking a big view, so you just looked like kind of a white ghost. But then when we really got into it, it was like, holy cow, like we really know what's going on with a pretty good level of precision. So that was really exciting when that happened because, you know, when the face tracking from the SDK wasn't working at the very well at the beginning, and we were, you know, switching OpenCV, we're like, we're not really using the SDK. So it's exciting that we would be able to use the depth for the face stuff, and that it actually could give us a leg up. So we still have some hurdles, but hopefully we get to use it because it is really cool.
Great. Wendy, you want to get your opinion here as well, as you've been covering this, writing blogs on what these guys are doing, and you covered the first challenge as well. Do you see anything new or different here that surprised you?
I think with this one, everybody seems to be jumping way into it way faster. I don't know, it just seems a little bit different in that way. It seems like this challenge, we're where we were at maybe week 4 with the first challenge. It just seems like everyone is, I don't know, I think that it's obviously a very different kind of app that everyone's building and different technology that people are working with, and maybe that's what it is, but it just seems much more intense this time around, and everybody's blogging these long involved blog posts that just has so much information already. And I love the back channel chatter that we're getting, and people are trading ideas and collaborating, and it's a different feel, but it's not necessarily better, but it's very different, and I think it's going quite well so far.
I think the reason for that, Wendy, is we're using an...
Oh, I think we might have lost Lee there for... Yep. There goes Lee fiddling with things too much again, unfortunately. So Lee has dropped off. So we'll allow other people to weigh in. I don't know if anybody else had thoughts or response to Wendy. There you are, Lee. You're back. So we'll allow you to answer that question.
Right. Hopefully I can speak long enough before Wales kicks me off this conversation. No, I just wanted to say that it's an Intel SDK, not a Microsoft one. And one of the big things about working with the Ultraboot is you're kind of working with all of it all at the same time. Whereas we have the fun of just having the SDK, we've got the hardware, we just run some examples, check out some source code, we're up and running within 2 hours. I mean, you know, and then you can get stuck in, do lots of very, very clever things. Whereas the previous Ultimate Coder challenge, we pretty much had to, well, in my case, I had to write an entire platform just to get like a sprite on the screen. So, you know, I think you're going to see it come thick and fast now, especially we start competing with each other as we go from blog to blog, cooling each other with what we can do with the hardware. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of acceleration. I think you think it's fast now. Wait till week 5.
Good deal. Any other thoughts on that?
Oh, I was just going to add briefly that aside from the SDK and that side of things, I think it's just really exciting hardware. You know, it's like we said in our blog post before. It's a blank canvas that it's a unique twist on the whole sort of motion and gesture control. I mean, the gesture camera has it picks up really fine details, which I was quite surprised at compared to, say, you know, other kinds of similar hardware. So I was immediately impressed, and that sort of stuff just sort of inspires ideas. You know, you think, oh, I could try this or I could try that, and I suppose that made us quite excited to jump in and get started.
Giuseppe, I've got a question. Are you using your perceptual camera in this Hangout right now?
Oh, but I apologise for it cutting out a little bit.
It's doing this thing. You know, you're like there, and then the picture changes. I'm wondering whether you've got a dodgy gesture cam.
No, it's not the gesture cam. Rob's got that at the moment.
All right, cool. Okay.
Because
it puts you at a disadvantage, to say the least, I think.
I apologise.
No worries. But we can definitely hear you fine.
I think a bigger disadvantage is getting cut out all the time, like Lee is for some reason.
Yeah, Lee eventually.
And there he goes again.
I think he's on like a...
He's on a dial-up modem over there.
Yeah, over...
In Wales. Oh.
I'll tell you what it is. It's my business part at Rick. It's got a button, and it presses it when I talk too much. That's exactly what it is. So I'm going to keep my sentences very short from now on. Mute.
He's training you.
I like it.
So Chris, I want to ask you guys, because you talked about time management as one of the challenges, but to connect that with what Wendy is saying, you guys are deep and fast into this. We're seeing a lot of content from you guys already. You put up a sample demo already, Unity web player, where you could fly around the environment that you're creating for your game. So I'm just really interested in reaction to that. Time management is an issue, but obviously you guys are putting time into this.
Well, I think that, you know, the Infrared 5, our background as a client service company and building stuff for other clients, it really helps in this case, because, you know, we're used to kind of doing that. And I kind of put it in our blog post this week that the Ultimate Coder Challenge is really just a really demanding client for us. And so, you know, we just do what we can and fit it in. And we do have project managers who are actually helping us out for this. Kelly Wallach is doing a fantastic job of making sure everything's working together. And Aaron, I know you've not been able to get as much done on it, but when you have, you've been really productive. And
when we get to do art on this, it's been good and fun, and it's looking really great.
I think these guys are just as inspired. The artists on our project are just as inspired by the technology as, you know, Steph and I are from kind of a more technical standpoint. And it's really exciting what we're able to put together. And so it keeps everybody energized. In fact, when they have to be working on something else, they're like, "Oh man, I want to be working on the Intel project. This thing is fun." You know? So I think the motivation is really on doing something super cool. And you know, that demo we put up just yesterday, it's already updated. We have the brass monkey controls in it now, and you can like fly through with your phone like this. And you know, I know John's putting in lasers today where you can shoot. So it's coming along really quickly.
Yeah, and that's what I think is interesting about this challenge is it seems to be feeding on itself as you guys post each week. As Lee was saying, there's excitement about this and the fact that you have access to this new technology. So I think it's like playing with a new toy. It's really interesting to see what you can do with it. And also what I find interesting is as you guys are running into some of the challenges, like Chris, you said about the Unity integration, the plugin there wasn't quite up to what you thought you could do with it, but you're finding interesting ways because of the compressed timeline and seeing what everybody else is doing. There seems to be kind of an energy around solving problems. So what I do want to ask you guys is kind of on that note here is solving problems, doing new things, is what can we start to look forward to? This is just week 2 that we're into, and we got to go all the way to week 7. So what are some of your thoughts on what we can look forward to? Anybody can jump in.
Well, I want to... Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say we're able to, like, because of what this camera is able to do, we think we're going to be able to get pupil tracking. So you're going to be able to like look to actually aim and then shoot the different objects in our game, which are going to be really fun.
Yes, Steph, go ahead.
Terrifying Steph because he's like, I got to pull that off.
We've seen some stuff, but really we haven't done any of the research yet on if we can pull that off or not. So we haven't made any of the tasks. Like this is fully like a week 6 thing, and Chris has been like, "Oh yeah, Steph's got that dialed. Like, no problem." But I mean, we haven't looked at any of that yet. It's like so far down the road. I mean, we'd love to do it. It would be the coolest thing if you can like actually move the a target around with your eyes. It would be really great. But we've got to do 3D pose matching with the head and a whole bunch of other stuff first.
Yeah.
So we'll get there, but it is exciting that you kind of feel like, oh my god, like what else can we do with this thing,
Yeah, I think that's part of the challenge too. Is we're always trying to push ourselves on this, and yeah, I think some of the things that we actually publicly say we were going to pull off, we may not actually get done. But I think that's also kind of a cool thing about the project.
Yeah.
I think you're on the right lines with the depth buffer, though, because when I converted it to 3D, I could then go in and actually look at the fidelity of the distance, and it's actually sort of almost millimeter perfect. And I think that is the best weapon in order to implement things like, 30 frames per second head tracking, gaze detection, so you can figure out first where the eyes are, and then you only have to pull a very small amount of RGB data to figure out where the pupils are. I think before, we never had the depth information. We all had to get it from this massive RGB stream. And so it was always going to be very difficult to get that sort of fidelity. But now we're doing an up-close motion detection system, something which can actually go down to the millimeter. I think we have the tools now in order to create those wonderful tricks. And we haven't seen gaze before. We've seen it in like science experiments and futuristic movies, but we haven't seen a situation where you can sit in front of your computer, your eyes look at a particular corner of the screen, and you can get your software to know that's where you're looking. It doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate. It could just be proximity with an auto lock. But we haven't seen that so far, and with this technology, I think we'll be the first group of developers to start to ask them questions and pushing some technology out. They might fail disastrously, but we're asking those questions, and we've got the technology which can provide some answers.
Indeed.
I didn't bum out. Hooray!
I think, the great thing about this challenge is, whilst we're all sort of taking on quite large projects, things that are we may not be able to fully realize. It's allowing us to push the boundaries. As Lee was saying, that a lot of this stuff hasn't been done before, and I think that's the great thing about it. And it's great for perceptual computing as well, because I'm sure the things that we'll try and maybe fail and maybe succeed here will, push the community in the direction of trying new things as well, which I think is great.
Yeah. And while this is a competition, I think we're all rooting each other on. When we hear about these features, we're like, yeah, let's pull this off. And so we're actually kind of helping each other try to figure it out. Just like Leah was saying about using the depth camera to actually pinpoint where their eyes are. I mean, it's a similar concept that we have on how to do it, but with us all collaborating and sharing the information that we're discovering as we go through it, I think we're all going to push ourselves to be creating some really awesome apps, which is I think this is probably the biggest takeaway from this thing.
Great. So as we wrap up this, I believe our judges are watching. Some of them over at Mobile World Congress in Spain covering that, and I've told them to check this out. So you guys are being judged every week. That's part of you creating your blog posts and your content. So as the judges have responded to you guys on week one, I want to give you guys this opportunity to respond back to the judges or tell them something that maybe that wasn't so obvious to them. So Giuseppe, we'll start with you.
No pressure. Honestly, I'm not sure what to say. I think we were really pleased with the enthusiasm from the judges, and that they've got faith in all of us, in all of the teams to pull off something great. And yeah, they highlighted that we are perhaps biting off more than we can possibly chew, but I think, as the other guys just said, that that's all part of the fun, I'm not sure what to say. I think, I don't know, I'll leave it to you guys for now, maybe come back to me.
Sure thing. So Lee's no short for words, so we'll go to Lee. So
if Google Hangout doesn't kick me off this conversation, I might be able to get a couple of words in. Yeah, I think the general feel amongst the good judges is that I'm completely nuts most of the time, and so you give me a challenge, I'm going to pick the worst possible thing.
Apparently Rick cut him off again. So we'll move forward. This is fun. This Google Hangout, right? Of course. There we go. He's back.
Right, I've got something to say to the judges. My next generation webcam software will be better than Google Hangout, because Google Hangout keeps dropping me because my video stream's too big. So there you go. How's that for a bold claim?
You did see that we put that on our post, Lee, right? That your technology wasn't up to the task yet for this actual session, but.
No, I'm going to get better.
Yeah, so maybe the final Hangout we do, we'll use Lee's software, which would be awesome.
That's what we're all looking forward to. Lee, you have to improve this. Hey, and we're joined by Chris Skaggs, who is also an ultimate coder here, working with the Code Monkeys. So, Chris, we're kind of getting towards the end of our discussion here, and one of the things that we're asking is if you want to respond to the judges. You've heard some of their comments already, so I wonder if you have any thoughts as you can now respond to them.
I didn't have anything prepared for that. So, no, not off the top of my head. I will say sort of like the level of coolness and polish and just what people are able to do. I mean, and this is not so much for the judges as the judges and all the participants. Like, it's actually really exciting. I don't think we had anywhere near this level of sort of like collaboration, everything else going on in the first set. So it's super cool to see what everyone's doing. So that's maybe not for the judges and probably not what you're asking for.
No problem. I'm just looking at you, Google Stream. If you've never met Chris Skaggs, he's like 6 foot 100 inches, and, and your head is like. Okay, there we go. Part of the Lollipop Guild over there. Okay.
Bob, I did have one specific thing which I thought was interesting that one of the judges Chris actually had to say, Chris Monder, and he said that he's going to pretty much only look at the things that actually utilize the hardware and in the form factor of the Ultrabook. And I think that's pretty interesting to look at things that way. That this can't just be an application that is going to run on just any kind of computer that's out there. It's really got to take advantage of that. And I think with what we're setting up, it's kind of like a video game console of the future. It's a really portable device which you can just slap on a table in a cafe, for example, and then start playing these games. And I think the portable aspect of it, the fact that we're using your phone as the game controller, and then your eyes and your face to actually be able to interact with the thing, is kind of one of the ways that we're looking to take advantage of this portable form factor in the Ultrabook.
Yeah, I think that was interesting that Chris had said that. That obviously wasn't part of our judging direction, but obviously the judges can do this as they see fit. Also, in the first challenge that we had, there were a number of assumptions that the judges had going in, but as they got towards the end of it, they completely changed their approach and their opinion of it, and it was largely in part by the work that had been done by the developers, by you guys. So I think that you can change his opinion of that, or his approach to judging. I would say that I think what Chris is after is a good experience for the use case. So if you're defining a use case and your app is a great and desirable experience for that, then he'll acknowledge it.
That makes sense.
Oh, I did just think of something. Sorry, not to derail, but just something for the judges. We will indeed be having at least a couple of references to Ghost within our app. So keep an eye out for those. They might not be so obvious, but we'll put them in.
Yes, I did notice that. So folks who don't know, is the Simian Squared application is kind of a virtual pottery wheel ideas that you can build and mold clay with your hands, but you're molding virtual clay. And so there was a reference to Ghost, I think, by one of the judges, and it caught on. So the movie Ghost. And so I think that would be nice to see that homage.
One of the most memorable scenes in all of film history.
As soon as 4 hands go in there, then Unchained Melody starts playing.
Yeah, 2, 4, yeah. That would be very cool. Okay, so I want to ask for any parting thoughts before we wrap up. Chris, I know that you joined late and you had a couple of comments, but I want to give you a chance to be able to comment on your experience with the challenge.
I think so far, like I said, I was really impressed by the level of participation. I think that it's just cool to see all the folks coming, really bringing their A game. So honestly, I feel kind of left behind. So we need to step it up over here. We were kind of, I think, in the middle of some other things as we were transitioning into this, and got off to a little bit of a slow start. But it's good to feel challenged in that regard.
Good deal. Any other parting thoughts from folks before we close this off?
I have one small note to say before I get kicked off the Hangout again. On the end of my first blog, I closed my little tirade saying, "Do pass go to collect £200." I want to mention to the judges that was not a bribe. I do not believe in bribing you to win this competition. It will be won by sheer tomfoolery, so just want to make sure that's clear. And it was Monopoly money.
I do hope you bring actual Monopoly money to GDC.
Just in case. Yes, I agree.
Oh, great. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining the call and giving our audience an insight into your experience with the Ultimate Coder Challenge. So I really ask everybody to check out Ultimate Coder, follow the URL that you see on the screen, which is software.intel.com/en-us/Ultimate Coder 2. Check us out week by week, and you can also see all of these guys participating at GDC, which will be from March 25th to March 29th in San Francisco. So, everybody, I appreciate your time, and we will catch you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Very much. See
you
you
guys.